Grip Hunter 87's question. Hey man, I love the content. Quick question. How do you stay consistent through long stints? I always start strong, but then drop off like 20 laps in. Any tips for keeping focus during endurance races? Well, personally, I like to keep focus by having a chat room with messages, sound effects, and me just talking general nonsense all the time. That really helps me focus on the race, and obviously I never crash, cause problems, and I'm one of the best sim racers in the world because of that. But really, in terms of staying focused, some really good tips that I've found when I'm trying to sim race a bit more seriously, I would say is you need to have something to actually focus on. Normally, when I'm driving, the things that I would focus on primarily are the cars around me and thinking about how they're going to impact me. So that involves being aware of the car radar, the mirror, and the cars behind us, especially when going into braking zones, though not overly driving by the mirror, but you need to be aware of it. And then also really being aware of like 100, 200 metres in front and sort of focusing on the distance to see how things are evolving in front of us. And it can be really far away, but it gives you the time to then think about things if stuff in the distance does happen. So there's that immediate stuff that's going on there, which is quite important to focus on and generally will take up a lot of your time, especially when things are very hectic at the start of a race and when everything's popping off around you. So that would be your primary focus. But let's say the race has chilled out a bit. Let's say it's nice and calm. Maybe it's a bit further in the race. Then I would say it's a lot easier to kind of sort of zone out a bit. And weirdly, obviously tracks like for endurance racing, Le Mans, that's an easy track to zone out. They're very hypnotic, the long straights. But for me, the Nordschleife as well is bizarrely hypnotic. I think it's all the trees and the grass and the nice flowing corners. But sometimes that hypnotic state can be positive because you're in a really good zone, really good pace. And other times it can induce you into making stupid mistakes. So to avoid that sort of wandering mind and making stupid mistakes, if there's not activity around you to focus on, what I think can be really good is to focus on trying to actually get good performance out of the vehicle and focusing on each corner to corner and your performance each corner to corner. Looking at, or not for over focusing, but being aware of the delta and trying to match what you know is a good pace for you or even slightly improve your delta pace. So you've got a target there, you've got something to aim for, and corner to corner or microsecond to microsecond, you always have a feedback there for are you doing better or worse. You've got to be careful, you don't want to hyperfixate on that because you can end up causing an accident for yourself trying to chase gains that you can't actually get. But having that as a sort of motivational thing or as a indicator that you're on it or not, I think that can really help you focus. And then also, I think having an awareness of your overall strategy of the race as well, and sort of thinking about, well, where are you at with your fuel? Where are you at with your tyres? How will that play into other things? Again, though, it's going to depend how much of an endurance race it is. If you've got a team behind you, if it's a team race or if you're just driving by yourself. And again, you're going to have to work out for yourself how much mental processing power you have to think about these other things and whether or not thinking about those other things is beneficial for you. Because some drivers and some personality types, they will get overly distracted by those non-immediate things and it will actually be detrimental to their performance, whereas some drivers find those additional things actually help them focus more on the actual raw performance of their driving and makes them less prone to making mistakes. You have famous examples though as well of like teams telling drivers to slow down a bit, you don't need to be pushing as hard, and that breaks the flow of a driver and then they end up crashing when they otherwise wouldn't if they were just trying to push as hard as possible. So that's a very complicated answer and not a singular answer because unfortunately humans are very complicated and very different to each other. So you have to find what works for you. But those initial tips of, as I say, focusing on what's going on around you, what's happening in the distance, I think that's a really good start point if you're new and you're really having a lot of basic problems. Just focusing on the fundamentals, fundamental awareness, basic driving, basic consistent driving, that will probably put you in good stead for newer sim racers. And then what I talked about later was more for people that have wasted far too much of their life sim racing. But I hope that actually helps you and answers your question, Mr. Grip Hunter 87. One day you will find that grip, maybe in a hedge, possibly in a cloud when you give up sim racing and do flight sim instead. If you guys found this video useful yourselves, click the like button, subscribe, and drop your questions underneath in the comments section, and I will try to answer them as best possible from the perspective of someone that has categorically wasted far too much of their life playing driving simulators. Happy tea drinking, take care, and goodbye.